Welcome to the Born to Be Brave YouTube channel. And today I am so excited for you to get to know our guest, Jennifer Champion. She's all the way from Canada. What part of Canada are you in?
So I live in Alberta now.
You're in Alberta. You know, my husband's from Alberta. I don't know if you know that.
Oh,
Born and
no, which part?
born and raised. You were born in McGrath, right? And then he moved to Vancouver for part of your childhood. And then he lived in Calgary for high school, and his mom still lives there and his brother. Where are you
Oh,
at?
nice. So I'm north. I'm in Edmonton.
Phew, excuse me. Sorry about that. Oh
Bless
my
you.
gosh. Yeah, thank you. Oh my gosh. So you're north in the cold tundra.
Yeah, February was a cold month for sure.
Yeah, very cold for all of Alberta.
Yeah,
So you guys, we're going to learn so much today because Jennifer is like who you want to model part of your life or good part. If you're interested in real estate and health and having fun and speaking and like totally transforming your life and managing a family and a marriage and kids and a real estate portfolio and being a builder and all those things, then you want to pay a lot of attention today to what we're going to talk about. Isn't that right? Isn't that kind of what you do? All of that
yeah,
stuff?
that you make it sound exhausting when you put it all in one sentence.
Yeah, but you know what's amazing is it's not exhausting, right?
No.
Yes, and I think that that's why maybe a lot of moms don't venture in to a side hustle of being an entrepreneur and real estate investing because it just maybe seems like when you say all of those things that you do, it's like, gosh, she never sleeps, or like, how could she possibly do that, right? It seems like almost impossible, right? Because you seem like
Yeah.
Superwoman, which you are, okay? But really, I do believe any woman could do it if they put their mind and soul and heart into it and decided they wanted to. Do you believe that or?
Yeah, and I think like even if it's real estate or if it's something else, I think when you like find something that you align with and that you're like really passionate about and truly love talking about, like in and out all day long, it's not exhausting and it doesn't feel like a job, right?
Yeah. It has to align with you, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
passionate about real estate and I know other people are like they wouldn't like that. And maybe they're passionate about something else, like maybe crocheting or basket weaving or do you know what I'm saying? Or
Yeah.
whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay because isn't it nice that we're also different?
Yes. Thank God we're all so different.
Yeah, it'd be really boring if we were all the same,
Yeah.
right? Really boring. So tell us a little bit about how did you go? Because I know you didn't just like inherit a portfolio and a skill set to be a builder and do all the things that you do. So take us at least from being you were a mom when you started your journey and I think you had a job, right?
Yeah.
And so take us from like how did you go from like that to kind of where you are today and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, for sure. So when we were still living in Victoria, my husband and I bought a house in like the beginning of 2018, split level, 1976 original, and we renovated and gutted the whole thing ourselves. And basically, our timeline was like before Stella made her arrival in August, we needed to have like at least a functioning like kitchen and upstairs, right? So basically when we went and refinanced that property, we made more money in the refinance than him and I did working our government job. So that was my light bulb moment. I was like, okay, there's got to be something to this. I need to find people who are doing things like this. Like, where do I go next? Like, how do I buy the next house and do this again? And that was my only thought was how to do what we just did again, right? So buy the old house, put in a suite, refinance, right? Our market we lived in is really expensive. It's an appreciation market for sure. So we basically had enough to buy another house, but then we wouldn't have enough to do the renovations. So I started to look on Instagram, stuff like that, tried to find like where are the other people like me out there, right? Like where is it happening? It wasn't in my social circle. My parents had like always built the house we lived in, so our principal residence never kept them as rentals, nothing like that. So I couldn't really like turn to my mom in terms of that. And yeah, I found this group. They were talking about other people's money. So I joined that group, and like the best thing that came out of that was basically I met a realtor who was in a cash flow market on the other side of Canada. Like I could buy a duplex for $120,000, or I could buy a single family for $800,000 to $900,000 where I lived, right? So it was just like it really expanded my mind that I had no idea that real estate was so drastically differently priced in different markets across Canada.
Oh, wow.
Um,
So you didn't know.
no, I'm born and raised in Victoria. I lived in my little bubble. Like I'd never looked to move. I'd never looked at real estate anywhere else until I was exposed to this. And I still remember saying to my husband, I'm like, is this a scam? Like, am I gonna get scammed? Like it was such a dramatic difference that yeah, like I thought it was a scam and all the things I'm like, okay, but he's a realtor, he has a license, like he has a fiduciary duty, like it can't be a scam, right? So yeah, so I did that, and I actually like bought my first rental property like right when COVID started. So
Ooh.
January 2020, I joined the program. March 2020, I was supposed to be closing on my first property. And like we were supposed to be funding, closing, and I get a call from the lender and they're moving their staff home. They're like, we don't know when we can fund this. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like already nervous, right? Because it's on the other side of the country. And I'm like, okay, like, so do we just wait? Like what happens, right? So anyway, that all worked out, which was great. And
Thank
Stella was a,
heavens.
oh my gosh, yeah. But I was like, is this a sign? Is this a sign that I'm not supposed to do it? Like, but yeah, and then I did a fourplex like 2 months later, another fourplex 2 months later, and like that was our strategy. And then, I remember I think it was like that August, someone called me and they were putting together like a Canadian mastermind. So it was these three guys and they were taking people from all across Canada who were doing things, right? And I was like, am I doing things? Is that what this is considered? Like, I don't know. I'm kind of just flying by the seat of my pants, I feel like, right? And yeah, and it was interesting. So I guess at that time, Stella she would have been two then. And so Seth and I sat down and, I was like, my personality, I'm very competitive with myself. I'm very type A. Like I'm an Aries. I was always the captain on every team I played on, like that sort of mentality. And so I said to him, I'm like, there's no way I go into this room of like 40 people and not come out dramatically different. Like I'm small fish in this pond, right? There were people doing like massive things compared to what I was doing, right? And I'm like, are you ready for that? Are we ready for that? Like, is our marriage ready? And so we had the discussion that like I would kind of be the face and he would be that like at home parent, making sure dinner, all that sort of stuff for the kids was done. And yeah, we just ran with it. And I think I always had like an interest in building just because like I was little and I remember my parents building. So I was always drawn towards that. And yeah, so we started building with guidance from, other people and everything like that, but definitely, took on that risk. And then it's interesting too, like as things have changed, we added another child to our family and everything like that. We aren't the builder on any projects anymore. So we're strictly the developer. We bring the deal together, we raise the capital, and then we, put it on someone else who has those like systems and processes and everything in place and really dialed in just so that, we can be with our family and we can scale our business a lot faster.
So it's really transformed over time. And
Yeah, and only 5 years. Like it's March 2025 now. It's so crazy when people are like, there's always that saying, in 5 years, where will you have arrived, right? So yeah, it's time flies.
and I think that what people underestimate the value of what they can do I mean, they overestimate what they can accomplish in a long period of time, but underestimate what they can do every day.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is in 5 years, I think you can completely transform your life.
Yeah, like I worked for the BC public government. I was in communications, and when we started, I was just doing this off the side of my desk, and the really big advantage was that the province I was buying in was 4 hours ahead, so I could get up at 5, like conduct business for an hour, and then get up with my kid and still go to work. Like it was so good that way.
Yeah, what a great advantage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How important do you think getting into masterminds and proximity, paying for mentorships and things like that are for transforming our lives to help maybe shrink the learning curve from getting, close that gap between where you are and where you want to be?
Yeah, I think it's really important, like even just for that like expansive mindset, right? Like being in a community of people doing similar things, but then also the ones like doing those next level things so that you can see what's possible and then you can like cast that vision for yourself too. I don't think, I mean, I'd probably still be buying duplexes and fourplexes if that was the case, right? Just because that was all I was doing and all I knew and it was working, right? But without someone sort of being like, so actually I had joined a different community, and the person who was my coach was basically like, if so and so can do this, like why not you? And I just kind of took that and ran with it. And it's really true. Like everything's learnable in real estate. It's not often that someone's creating something brand new that's never been done before, right? So
Everything is learnable.
yeah.
And I do really feel like people want to share, right? If there's an earnest seeker, right? I feel like the teacher will show up and that people want to help other people be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think a lot of the times we like create that gap in our mind between the people that
Mhm.
are successful and where we are, and we don't think that they would ever like spend the time with us or anything like that. And sure, there might be some people, but the worst that can happen is they say no, right? And then you move on and try and find someone else. But most people are happy to share.
Yeah, I would say the majority. And then what are you focused on now? Like what kind of building projects are you doing? So you're not doing duplexes and fourplexes anymore. What is your major focus now?
Yeah, so we're definitely into larger buildings right now. Some of the projects that are in development permit stage right now are a 66 unit and a 165. So just
Yeah.
a little larger. We do still do like on the smaller size, like we'll do sixes and eights with like one investor, that kind of thing. We call them infill projects up here. But yeah, just really like operating the fund and continuing to grow that.
When you say the fund, what's the most important thing about raising capital that our viewers should listen to if they want it? Let's say somebody's a smaller operator, they're doing 2 to 4, maybe even 6 units, but they want to jump it up. Like, how do you make that transition and what advice would you give them to make sure that when they're raising funds that they are successful?
Yeah, I think just like showing up online and creating that, sort of like history for people to see, right? So talking about what you're doing, showing challenges, showing wins, like all of that sort of stuff. And then just be in conversations with people all the time because you truly don't know what's going on in that person's life or who that person knows and how it'll all come back one day.
Gosh, I know everyone's a potential investor, right? Or a referral to an investor, right? We,
Absolutely.
yeah, we just don't know. And it is interesting, right?
Yeah, and I think just, starting those conversations and just allowing people the opportunity to talk about themselves and figure out what's important to them and sort of like how you can help in that scenario, right? With investments.
Yeah, I think that's really important, right? And then, like, do you have a Mount Everest that's like that big thing that you want to do that maybe is on the horizon out in the future that you're working towards or you eventually want to do that you feel comfortable sharing with us?
Yeah, like a Mount Everest. I don't know. I think it'll be a really great day. So one thing that, when we got into development that I didn't really think about at the time was just like how long you spend in that like permitting process until you're actually like shovels in the ground. So I think with that 66 and 165, I think my Everest right now is just like seeing those shovels in the ground, projects being built, and everything like that. I think once we're at that stage, I'm going to have to find some new goals because that's sort of what takes most of my attention right now.
Getting through the permit process.
Yeah, and raising funds, right? Like they're big
Mhm.
raises and everything like that. So, yeah, for right now, I think that's just kind of where all my attention goes. I mean, and like raising my kids and everything like that too. But I mean, in terms of like the Everest of life, I really want to I want to be able to live from a laptop and I want to show my kids the world.
That is so beautiful. I love
Yeah.
that. Where do you want
Yeah.
to go first?
Oh, well, I've never left North America. I had plans to, but it never happened. So like I love Bali, Thailand, all that. I'd love to take them to Ireland. Both my grandmothers are from Ireland, so just everywhere.
I love that.
Yeah.
What an adventure.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't wait to see you doing that. That is like in your escrow account on its way. It's
Yeah.
coming,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Is it different raising money in Canada versus raising money in America, in the US?
I think I mean, there might be some like slight difference in terms of like the securities and everything
Hmm.
like that. Like you guys have like 506B and C. We don't have that. We have accredited investors and stuff like that, but then we also have exemptions. So if you know someone and they're like a family friend or business associate, they can still come into your fund through an exemption. So there's slight differences, but I mean, generally they're pretty similar.
That's good, right?
Yeah.
So I've been noticing on your social media that you've been talking a lot more about being healthy. Tell me more about that and why is that so important?
Yeah. So post baby number two, and I had two C-sections, coming out of that. And I think I was probably already like a year postpartum and just like not happy with where I was. And, as I said, like I've been an athlete since I could walk, right? And just, looking in the mirror and not recognizing who I was and then like seeing pictures and just like I'm like who is this person, like it's just not me, right? And so the final straw was actually my husband, his stepbrother got married, and so I think it was like in September, and then we got to see the pictures like at Christmas time, and I nearly fell to the ground. I was like I just had no idea. And I was like, that's it. We're done. We're done with the like, oh, you're going to like eat clean during the week. And then, oh, it's okay to make exceptions on the weekend. And I was like, screw this. And I knew that I wanted to do more things in real estate. And I knew that would require going on podcasts, speaking, all of that sort of stuff. And there was no way that that girl was getting on stage and having hundreds of people look at her how I felt on the inside. So just changing, right? Like, and like now, like that morning time and like working out, like that's oh my gosh, like that's my time. Like I need that time to myself before my kids are awake, before anyone's like asking anything out of me and coming at me with, a million and one requests. But it also just makes it so that you're not tired, like you have the energy to do all of these things, right? And it's cyclical when people are like feel bad eat bad, feel bad eat bad, right? So just changing those habits and yeah, working towards like health and fitness goals while being an entrepreneur, I think is really really advantageous in terms of like mental health and stress.
Yeah, really important.
Yeah.
Yes, and I agree with mental health is so important because success isn't just about the money, right? If you're successful financially, but you have a crappy marriage or you have a crappy family relationships or you have crappy health, well, like we have to, I know success looks different for everyone, but we get to decide and define what success means to us. And it's nice that you're making sure because you can't buy your health. And so you're putting in the time and the effort to make sure that you're choosing a healthier lifestyle. And then you feel better and you build your self-confidence when you keep your promises to yourself.
Yeah. And I think too, I'm very aware, like, I have a daughter, she's 6, right?
Mhm.
And I see what happens to girls in society nowadays and stuff like that. And I never wanted to, like, she can feel the energy, right? Like, and so I didn't want to say no to something or not go to something because I felt uncomfortable with the way I looked, right? And
Mhm.
through the whole process, I've also been very, very mindful. Like, it's not about losing weight. It's not about the number on the scale or anything like that. Like, I'm very, very cautious about how I approach it. And simply, I just tell her, like, I want, when mommy's throwing you around in the pool, she wants to be able to do that forever, right? Like, and just keep up with you.
Yes, my thing is eating for vitality and health.
Yeah.
Yeah, just being vital and having vitality, being healthy, and just like having maximum energy potential and, listening to my body. And yeah, it's really
Yeah.
good. So I'm excited
Yeah.
for you. It's good.
And I don't have time to be sick. So,
Right?
yeah.
Which is good, right?
Yeah.
What about failure and mindset? Like, how important do you think it is? I think a lot of people look at you and they're like, "Oh, I would love to do what she does, but I can't do it." And they're worried about failure. They're worried about risk. People think it's risky, and then the mindset. How did you go from and change your mindset and or when you ever have doubts or self-doubts, is there something that you do to help yourself become more resilient and determined and more positive in your life?
Yeah, I think what I mean, and it's honestly like a daily, weekly occurrence, right? I think the more you're doing and the more you want to do, the more self-doubt can creep in. And then it's just like, how fast can you get back to where you were, right?
Mhm.
But definitely like gratitude practices and just being grateful for every small thing that's going on. And, in terms of failures, like I've failed lots as well. I think it can be a little isolating sometimes. And it's been interesting, even in the world of social media, now you see more and more people talking about their failures and sort of putting that out there, which is nice to see. But yeah, I mean, I think it's what you do with the failures too, right? There's lots of people like who say, you have to take a lesson away from your failure. And if you don't, then it's a true failure, right? But there's always lessons to be learned. And then, you readjust and you don't do it that way again. And, you have to move on, right?
Yeah. And I think it's part of life. I think the faster you fail forward, the better it is. Personally,
Yeah.
I see it very differently than most people. And I think fear keeps so many people from living a life they love. And I think that's so sad because this is not like our practice life. This is our one precious shot at life, right? And
Yeah.
so many people are living a life that maybe was expected of them. Maybe their parents wanted them to become a doctor or an engineer or a nurse or, do you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, have that safe government job, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And the problem with that is it's really risky to not live the life that you were meant, you full of joy.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, like even sharing some of those health things, right?
Mhm.
I would say that I was very criticized in the beginning, and it's like, well,
Mhm.
you're in real estate, why would you be talking about this? And I'm like, well, I think they go hand in hand, and I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to be more than one thing. And it was really hard to like find that balance, but then so many people, well, and so many female entrepreneurs too, right? They're like, oh, that's so inspiring, it's so nice to hear that, right? And so like
Mhm.
the more I talk about it and blend the two, it was just like very aligned with me, right?
Mhm. Yes. And I think it's interesting that people have a lot of because I've been going all in on YouTube and speaking and getting way out there. And what I'm noticing is I'm experiencing personally a lot more opposition, a lot more people with negative opinions about also great opinions too. I'm just saying, but a lot more people criticizing or opposition attacking like what I'm doing a little bit.
Yeah.
And I just had to remind myself the other day because somebody said something pretty awful to me the other day in a public setting, you know. And I just reminded myself, I didn't for a minute, I'm like, am I even really experiencing this? And like, is this like really happening?
Yeah.
And then a second person said something even more unkind. And it's interesting. And I'm in a public situation, right? And I decided to correct the one thing that was not accurate, of course. I mean, the whole thing was not accurate, in my opinion, but everyone's entitled to their opinion. But it's just interesting as I'm putting myself more and more out there that I'm experiencing opportunities that I wasn't expecting, right? And it is interesting that anyone would even tell you if you do real estate, why are you talking about health, right? Like they don't go
Yeah.
together. And really, it's your life. You can talk about whatever you want on your social media or on your platforms. And it's just interesting is I had some time to reflect because it's been 2 days since that happened, but I was just like, I decided not to let it bother me. It was a little bit hurtful and it stung just a little bit in the moment, but that's their opinion of me. But I don't live my life to be based on what their opinion is of me. And I think that as we, as women especially, step more and more into our power and live the life that we were meant to live, that we just drown out those voices and don't worry about them and just stay true to ourselves and God or what higher power, what, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And to our message and our mission and our purpose. So I'm really glad that you're sharing it because I absolutely love because I've had surgery and I've been working on getting back in shape and
Amazing.
healthier. And you know, I was all pretty much always in shape before then. And so it's like getting in shape is much harder than staying in shape.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so interesting about the negative comments and stuff like that. It's like, first of all, I didn't ask your opinion. And
Mhm.
second of all, if you don't like it, like feel free to unfollow, unsubscribe, whatever you want, move on with your life. Like, but as well as becoming a parent, it's so interesting because at the same time, I'm like, what has happened to this person to make them speak like that, right? Like
Mhm.
what's really going on for them to think that A, that's appropriate, and B, why would you want to inflict like that harm onto someone else, right?
Yes, and that's what came to me is they're hurting, and so
Yeah.
they're lashing out, and
Yeah.
that's okay. And I'm just staying in my lane. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I sent them love. I was really proud of myself. I'm like, I send you love and peace, and I just wish you well because.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that when we stick our necks out, sometimes we're going to get whacked. Like that my kids had a game called whack-a-mole or something. I don't remember, but you hit the mole
Yeah.
back down when it was trying to come out.
Yeah. And I think that's why, a lot of people don't go on social media or don't take that risk or something like that. But, for me and myself, I think I'm more afraid to not live up to my full potential and go after what I want than not making a social media post or something like that. And it's so funny too, because so many times people are like, oh, like you're such a natural, this and that, like when you're on your stories or this. And I'm like, yeah, but I go through the same stuff. Like it's weird to stand there and talk to a camera with no one talking back to you. Like it's still uncomfortable. But if I don't do it, I don't keep moving forward, and that's more uncomfortable. Like my biggest regret would be being in the exact same place next year as I am right now.
Yeah, that's a growth mindset, right?
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
think we have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
Like I never thought I'd be a YouTube host, you know?
Yeah. So
And
fun.
yeah, isn't that fun? And it's so fun because I want a permanent record here in YouTube to inspire women and men too. But I really just want, because I have two granddaughters that are probably about your kids' age, and I
Yeah.
really want them to know that I can do anything because look what grandma was doing, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I want people to know it's never too late, right? It's never too late to become an investor or to live the life you want to do or start whatever it is you want to start,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? What else should we talk about? What do you think the listeners would love to know more about you?
Oh, I mean, I think in terms of like real estate, one that I still get all the time, I'll go to conferences and stuff like that, and I still get asked where my husband is.
For real?
And oh yeah, yeah. Where's your husband? Are you here with him? Um, no, I'm not. Well, where is he? At home, raising our children as their father. Oh, he's at home? Yeah, that works best for our relationship. Like he wouldn't want to do this. He wouldn't want to, he's more of an introvert. He doesn't lead on that he's an introvert because he plays a very like extroverted introvert, but
Uh-huh.
more than happy to be at home with the kids than like out meeting new people or talking to strangers.
Oh, you know what's so funny is Vina Jetty is a friend of mine, and we were talking, and she says you cannot believe she went to go look at a property, even with all the billions that she's done, right? She went to go look at a property, and the guy wouldn't even talk to her. He's like, "Well, we'll start when your husband gets here."
Yeah.
She's
Yeah,
like,
it's
"He's
so
not coming,"
fascinating. Yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
not coming. They're like, "Well, then I guess we can just reschedule," and she's like. No, we're not rescheduling, right? Like
Yeah.
that's just insane.
Yeah. I mean, we even had, like we were at a wedding and there was a guy who started talking to Seth and he's like, "Oh, like, what are you doing? Like, you're doing all these builds, this and that. Like, how does it all work?" And, Seth's the first one to be like, "That's not like I'm on site. I can't tell you about like the financing and like how it all comes together." He's like, "You have to go talk to Jen." And he never came and talked to me.
Yeah,
So,
interesting, right?
yeah.
And my number one well, my number one goal is to scatter sunshine everywhere I go. So I guess number two or three is when I go to real estate events and there's like one or two women on the stage and it's all men up there. It really bothers me. And
Yeah.
in the States, I think female investors are about 37% of the population, under 40% or something,
Crazy.
which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
And so and I still see events all the time on my Facebook where they're all their little pictures and it's one woman and
I
then all
know.
these guys, right? And it's changing a little, but I'm just saying my goal, so I want women over 40 to know that it's not too late to start investing and to take control of their financial future so they don't have to work until they die or be a burden to their family.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is I want women on these stages. And I'm going to get on these stages. I know you're on these stages. And because when my granddaughters grow up, I want them to know that investing in real estate is a normal part of life. And that if they want to speak on stages, and then if they don't and they want to do art or whatever they want to do you know what I'm saying? I want
Yeah.
them to be able to do that. I don't want them to have to be me. Well, I don't want them to live my life for them, but whatever it is. But I just want it to be more normal and natural, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, and there's great guys out there to work with too and stuff like that. So, you just have to go through it, right? But yeah,
There's
it's fascinating.
It is fascinating, and there are great guys. There's amazing, and I love men. I'm not against men. I love them so
Totally.
much. I mean, I've been married this month 37 years, and I love my husband so much.
Wow.
Isn't
Yeah,
that
that's
crazy?
amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. We hit 10 years in August. I feel like I'm not even like old enough to say I've been married for 10 years, which is just so crazy.
Isn't that the weirdest thing?
Yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm like in my 20s still, right? Except for that I get tired easier. And then and then what's so funny is to be married for 37 years. It's like, how did that
Yeah.
happen, right?
Yeah, that's so crazy.
I remember I thought someone that was like 40 was old, right? When I was young.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's interesting. So has there been any books that you've read that you feel like have impacted your life that you would recommend to our
Oh,
audience?
yeah. Yeah, for sure. So, and it's not real estate or anything like that. And I wasn't a big like woo-woo person when I first got into this or anything like that. And then I read Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza and how he gets into like the scientific aspect of like what is happening in your subconscious and how you can essentially use that to your advantage or disadvantage completely changed the way that I look at things. it changed the way I talk to my kids, how I, expect them to talk to themselves,
Mhm.
always the can't. And I'm like, okay, well, if you say you can't do it, then you can't. I'm like, and so yeah, definitely changed my life for sure.
Yeah, all of his books are amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely I even listened to a lot of his stuff, but and I've read all his books, right? Which one did you recommend?
Becoming supernatural.
Supernatural, right? And
Yeah.
I think he has a book called Breaking the Habit of Yourself Being You.
Yeah.
And I listened to a video of his a long time ago that literally I was like, wow, that just blew my mind because a long time ago, my life, I was not a positive person and I would cry and complain to anyone who would listen to me. And I was very unhappy with like every aspect of my life. And then
That
what,
shocks me.
yeah, it's not shocking. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And it's interesting when he, well, one, Esther Hicks is, uh, I heard her talking about and Wayne Dyer about how like you have pre-ordered, like you're attracting all this stuff in your life because of how you're being. And I remember the first time I heard that like woo woo stuff, and I was like, well, that's the dumbest thing ever. That's impossible because my life is miserable. And so I would never want to be this miserable, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
was not taking any personal responsibility for my life at the time. I was
Yeah.
like, that's the dumbest thing ever. And then I heard Joe Dispenza say, um, that what happens, and this is exactly what people do to themselves, and I did it myself, okay, but I'm just saying this is what I see. I don't do it anymore, right? But I used to do this, is that one bad thing will happen to you, right? And then you ruminate on that and you tell all these people about this really bad thing that happened to you. And then it becomes like part of your personality over time, right? And
Yeah.
then pretty soon you're just you don't even realize how you're now part of all these things and you're just like, well, that's just the way I am, right? And
Yeah.
it is interesting that so many people use their imagination to self-sabotage and to rehash and replay old movies in their head of stuff that they're unhappy about when they could actually use their imagination to co-create their ideal life and help attract and call in all the goodness and all the things they want. Is that kind of what you
Yeah. I mean, for me, like, pre-book, I was like, so everyone, you're just like thinking happy thoughts and like writing some words down, and then magical things happen to you. I'm like, why don't you just do the work and then it'll happen? Like, just get busy, right? And then, yeah, just like reading and listening. I've probably listened to it like 5 additional times just because, once you like hear it and then you hear things differently after. But yeah, I mean, it's everywhere, right? Like you can dramatically change your life even in 12 months if you want to. If you put in the work and, that like positive self-talk instead of continuing to like embellish on that, like a failure, for example, right? You keep running that failure through and through and through and through. That's all you think about. And you're essentially just like blocking your nervous system from doing anything else, right? Whereas, and I think it's hard for people when you're in it to like look to the future and see that life can be any different, right? And like
mm-hmm.
have that belief, like you have to believe it's possible. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's
especially if
pretty crazy.
generational, especially if it's generational,
Absolutely.
right? Like if
Yeah.
you were raised a certain way and they were raised a certain way and it's just generational been passed on to you these mindsets and these ways of thinking, breaking those um generational ways of being it's so important, right?
Well, and I think even, depending on how you're like, no one was talking to me about that. I don't even remember having a conversation like about goals or
Mhm.
anything like that, right? It was kind of just like, where are you going to go to school and what job are you going to do after school, right? But I mean, that also comes from the times that my parents were raised
Oh,
in
of
as well,
course.
right? Yeah, so it's interesting because like even Like I try to do it to my mom all the time. She probably hates me for it, but just those like little reframes, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, you should listen to this podcast. Like it was so good. She's like, it's an hour and a half long. When would I ever listen to it? I was like, oh my God, yeah, I forget. You never drive a car, you never go for a walk. Like she's like, okay, I get it. Point taken. But like, you know what I mean? Like you just see the
Mhm.
length of time of something and you automatically say you're not gonna do it. And yeah, it's just so funny. Like when people complain about no sleep, and it's like, okay, but like at least you had a roof over your head, like just stuff like that, right? Yeah, I don't know.
It,
People
it,
probably hate me for it.
no, it's good because, what's interesting is we all get 24 hours, right? Because
Yeah,
I listen to tons of YouTube and podcasts, uplifting things, right? And to learn
yeah,
things. And when I'm cooking a meal, washing the dishes, running my errands, I also listen to like my scriptures and podcasts about that stuff too. So it's all literally whatever we decide. Or like I decided after I've been watching your videos, I'm like, okay, Jen is going and getting these steps. I did 15,000 steps yesterday after I watched your
yeah,
video.
amazing.
Yeah, it's not
I
fun. And
love
almost
it.
every day this week, right? Almost every day this
Yes.
week. And I'm like, oh, and I want to get a weighted vest because I have osteoporosis. I just found out I
Yeah,
have osteoporosis. What's so funny is I had to get a new doctor because of insurance, which I wasn't
yeah,
planning on sharing this. But anyway, what happened was the doctor called me. I've never met him, right? And he said my test results came back from my scan, and he's like, he was just gonna mail them to me. And he thought I was like a 90, 85 to 90-year-old woman. And then when he saw my date of birth, he's like, oh, I gotta call her, right? Because
yeah,
he's like, oh, she's 57. That's not, my test results didn't match up with my age, right? So he was
yeah,
like, and so he told me, he goes, you got to start doing, he referred me to another doctor, but he said, you have got to take serious action because you have osteoporosis of like a 90-year-old woman in your body. And it's, there's stuff you can do. I just don't know what it is, right? And
yeah,
one of the things that's supposed to be good for it that people outside the medical community say is to wear a weighted vest and walk. And so I'm going to get a weighted vest. I don't have one yet, but this just happened. But I just think it's amazing how we impact each other, right?
yeah,
But while I was out there, I listened to stuff, right? And
yeah,
I host a YouTube discussion on Tuesday mornings with some ladies, and I got all prepped for that, listening to all the stuff on that, and then I called a couple people. But we can all listen to stuff if we choose, if we're more in the growth mindset. But I do
yeah,
feel like when we plant these seeds with people, that like literally, like you only know happy, joyful, grateful, manifest Colleen, right?
yeah.
Like you cannot comprehend like Colleen crying all the time, complaining all the time, and being unhappy,
No. Yeah. Even just complaining. I don't think I can comprehend complaining.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
so we can all transform our lives, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, like what's important to you, you'll make time and effort for, right?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
choice. It's all a
Yeah.
choice, and
Yeah.
and literally when the pain of what you're experiencing is more than like if you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to make a change. Then
Yeah.
then you're going to make the change. Otherwise, I feel like people are just kind of comfortable where they are, and that's
Yeah.
it, you know?
And that was the photo. That
Mhm.
photo, I tell you. Oof. I
Yeah.
was like, is this what other people see? Am I seeing, is this the real photo? Like, what is happening? And then, of course, people are so sweet. They're like, oh no, like the lighting's bad. Like, it's a really weird filter on it. And I was like, the filter has nothing to do with the size of things. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it
thank
wasn't
you.
Photoshopped. They didn't Photoshop
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
So,
didn't supersize the photo.
no, no, no. I was like, thank you, but no, no, this is what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, and you decided to make some changes, right? And then what's so fun is you've been inspiring me because I'm like, okay, I can definitely get like more steps in at least, right? And then I've been lifting
Yeah.
weights like 4 days a week too, but it
Nice.
is interesting that we can all make these changes. And then yeah, I feel like Joe Dispenza, if people would listen, right, it could totally change their lives. I've never been to
Yeah.
one of his seminars, but I have it on my bucket list. I would love to go.
Yes. definitely on my bucket list as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the nice thing is you can read his books or just, listen to all his, interviews and stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Any other books that you love?
I mean, I really liked I don't know if you can swear, but it's Rich as Fuck by Amanda Francis. I think that one's just like really good about like empowering women with money.
Oh, really? I've never heard of it. What's it called?
Rich as Fuck by
Okay.
Amanda Francis. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just like really changing your like money mindset, and yeah, it's a great one.
Okay, I'll have to read that because every year I do what's called the Science of Getting Rich, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
and it's 90 days of listening to chapters 4, 7, 11, and 14 from the Science of Getting Rich by Wallace
Yeah.
Wattles. And
Okay.
Bob Proctor and Mary Morrissey do that every year. You listen to them
Oh,
read those for 90 days to reset your subconscious mind and get you to a higher level because we
oh,
all have set
amazing.
points, right? We all have set
Yeah.
points regarding money and or what's possible in our lives. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get that book. That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you
It's a
for
great
that
one.
recommendation.
Of
T-
course.
Tell me about speaking on stages. What prompted that? Because I love speaking on stages, but most people it's in their top five fears.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's definitely not the most comfortable place to be for me by any means yet.
Mhm.
It gets more and more comfortable, but just where like the size of things I want to do require more investors, more eyes on me, all that sort of stuff. And I also want like other women to know that they can do it, right? Like, yes, it's not easy. Yes, you're going to have some men who, think you're off your rocker, but there's like such a great community of people who will be there to support you in whatever you decide, whether it be real estate, opening your own business, anything like that, right? To just like stand up for yourself and do the things that scare you and live that big life, right? Like if the 9 to 5 is not cutting it for you, then make those changes and get uncomfortable and go after what you want.
Yeah, that's great. And don't you feel like getting on stage gets easier over time? I don't know. I'm asking. I
For
For me
sure.
it does.
Yeah, for sure.
Like in the beginning, I felt like I was going to throw up and die, and now
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's fine. I mean, there's a little bit of like do you know what I'm saying? But then it's
Yeah.
like, and then it's fine once I get started and talking to people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I
Mhm.
would agree.
Yeah. So I feel like I heard this lady, she's a Dr. Feelgood, Becky Feelgood. I don't know if you follow her. She's awesome.
No.
Her TED Talk was like one of my favorites ever. My daughter had me take her course so I could be a better grandma, which I think is so cute, right? And because parenting, like I have to say, it's a miracle my kids turned out like, okay, that's like, thank heavens. But like literally, like reframing everything and how you talk to them and just like not coming from like punishment and just anyway, there's all these ways of talking to kids and empowering these little kids, right? And it's so it's not natural for me because I was like my parents, like would hit me with a belt if I didn't do what, I was told,
Right.
right? So of course you complied, right? Because you don't want to get punished, right? But there's all these other approaches. And she also teaches some guest teaches at Duke University because I guess maybe she lives over there. I don't know where she lives. Anyway, but she had this video recently that was like the learning gap. There's a gap of like what you want to learn and what you know and what you want to learn that's new. And
Yeah.
she called the in between the learning gap, right? And being in this learning area. And she said that it's like this, right? Getting from what you know to what you want to know, right? And it's up and down, right? There's a lot of up and down. She said when you can get comfortable with frustration and feeling frustrated, that you will make it from the one end to the other end, right? You will master
Interesting.
the new thing if you can get comfortable with feeling frustrated, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I don't know why I felt like I should share that with you. I think you would love her if you followed her.
Yeah, I'll check her out.
Yeah. Yeah. She's, like, I was like, oh, I'm such a better grandma than I was a mom.
Well, and I think, I mean, you learn so much though, right? Like,
Mhm.
yeah, and things change too, and it's such a different relationship. You're not you're not in the thick. You also don't have like the same financial stress as the parents do while you're trying to parent these little kids and everything, right? So, yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's pretty common.
Yeah, I think so too. And
Yeah.
and I'm grateful that I get not a redo or do over, but kind of, it's kind
Yeah.
of not that they live in another state, but I see them a lot. But I
Yeah.
do think that um it's just fun to explore all these, grow my mind on how to best, because they're people too, right? And like when you're trying to get investors to give you money to invest with you, you're gaining trust, right? And building rapport and trust. And you have to, really get to know that person. And I think it's the same like with even with our kids and our grandkids, right? When we get better at listening and better at our people skills, I feel like those are the best skills we can master because it
Yeah.
impacts every relationship we have, whether it's our investors, it's our family relations, it's the people we come in contact with, the people that are doing your construction sites, right? It's everybody from your tax person to your kids and your grandkids, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What else do you want to share with us? I just feel like I should ask you what you want to share.
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I feel like we talked about most things. It's pretty
Yep.
much my life summed up right now.
Yeah.
Real
When
estate, working out, and kids.
That is, I have a question because we have a few more minutes here.
Yeah.
What would you tell your younger self?
Oh, that's like a trend right now. I see too on social media. I went and
Hmm.
had coffee with my younger self. Oh my gosh, I don't even know. I guess it would depend what age I was at. Um,
22. Let's pick 22, 25.
22 to 25.
Mm-hmm.
So 22, I had opened a nail salon at 21 with a partner, and then she got pregnant and hid it from me, and ultimately decided to walk away from the business at 22. So there I was at 22 doing it all alone, and then I grew it into, a big wholesale company, and ended up having to shut it down when COVID came. But I think I would just tell myself to like trust your gut and like more than you ever have before. And you're going to find the love of your life, and you two are going to create a great life.
Yeah, that's good. Trust your gut more, right? Because I think we second guess
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. Like, even with this move to Alberta, like I came out here in June and of last year, and it's just like a different in business environment from Victoria. And I said to Seth, I'm like, we're in our 30s. We're building, like, not building how, but like building a life, like building
Mhm.
our empire. I was like, this is where we need to be. I was like, we need to sell our house and we need to come out here and we need to get out of like where we were born and raised too, right? Like it's so comfortable. We're doing the same things on the weekend, like this and that. And yeah, we sold our house in July and moved in August. And it's honestly been so great living in a bigger city and just having so much access to everything, right? We just didn't have that in Victoria. The population is only maybe 500,000, whereas here we're 1.3 million. So just more opportunities, like more everything, right?
Yeah, I love that. Right? And
Yeah.
being open to change.
Yeah. And and a big one for me was I think like proving to myself too that like you can pick up and move and
Mhm.
prove and showing our kids that you don't have to stay in one place. You can like go be and do whatever you want and you can do it, right?
Yeah, you're not a tree. You're not
Yeah,
stuck.
yeah. Well, it was I'm like, it's interesting. Other people probably love it when it's like generations and generations born and raised Victoria. But like for me, I was looking at it and I was like, wow. I was like, so I'm born and raised here. If my kid's born and raised here, like, is she ever going to leave? And then, like, what? Her kids are going to be born and raised here, and no one's ever going to like experience any sort of like life outside of Victoria. I don't know. I just thought it was crazy. And like, even Stella was like, we've lived in the same amount of places. I'm like, yes. I'm like, this is so crazy. I mean, now we've still lived in the same amount of places, but Yeah, I don't know. I think I like change. So my
Yeah.
husband doesn't, but he puts up with me. So
I'm so glad you said that because I live in the same town that I grew up in, right? Now
really?
my whole family's left though, right?
Okay.
They've all left and then eventually we're going to leave. We have a house out in Texas now. And
Oh,
that's where
amazing.
and that's where our kids are too, right?
Yeah.
But one kid's here still, but I do think it's interesting about I remember thinking about really moving. And because I've never, except for I went out to college and I went out of the country for a semester abroad.
Okay.
And literally, I'm like, well, who are my friends going to be? Where am I going to go eat? Who my doctor's going to be? Right. Like you start because I'm so used to 57 years in the same area,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm in the town next door, but like, come on, we're talking
Yeah.
about at the end of my neighborhood is the town I grew up in. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it starts making like right like and that's crazy. And what's so funny, just having we've had that house in Texas for 1 year now, over a year now, but we spend a lot of time there. We split time.
Okay.
I have friends there and I love them so
Yeah.
much. I have great places to eat and I love getting around and figuring it out. And now I'm thinking I want a house in Montana. I'd like to maybe have a lake house there. And I wouldn't mind maybe even having, like spend time there and then like Utah. I love the mountains there. It might be kind of fun to
Mm.
have a cabin there or something. But now I'm like, oh, this isn't so scary.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's interesting too, like, because we're only like 6 months in, and people are like, "Oh, like, how is making friends?" And I think like one really interesting part of it that I never thought about is that we don't have the same amount of friends here as we did there, and it's really allowed us to like hang out as a family. Right? We go to do things on the weekends and it's just the four of us. It's not a friend and their kid, and then our kids are all playing and we're just chit chatting. Like Seth and I get so much time just to like talk to each other and be with our kids and like create that, I don't even know, like family unit, right? Instead of being distracted by everything that's going on.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
I love
That's
that
awesome.
that
They grow up so
epiphany.
fast. How are my kids already 6 and 3?
Yeah, your kids are exactly my grandkids' age.
Oh,
Exactly.
really?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
great ages.
they're so fun. It's so fun. But you know
Yeah.
what's weird is weren't they just born yesterday? Like,
Right? I
hmm,
swear.
yeah, it's
It's so
terrible.
cute. It's so funny, like when they look at like their baby books and like my little guy, he's like, that's a baby. I'm like, that's you. He's like, what? She's like, I was a baby. I'm like, yeah, that's how everyone starts. But it's just like so far removed, you like can't even process it. And then the 6-year-old and like the level of conversations and just like, oh my gosh, just things no one ever told me about being a parent, right? Like it's crazy.
She's so smart, right?
So smart. It's
Hmm.
terrifying. It's exciting. Like I'm so excited to see like what she takes on in the world, but also terrifying. I'm like,
Yeah.
if I make it to see what you do, I will be really happy. She's me. She is a small version
She's
of
a
me.
mini me, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. The
Mhm.
attitude, the sass, the fierceness. Yeah. Don't tell me no. I'm going to figure it out. Yeah. I
Fiercely
think
independent.
yeah, yeah. I think that's the real reason why number 3 was taken off the table. I don't think I mean he's told me Seth's like I never knew that like we could have a baby and it would just be you. Like it's like literally a small version of you. He's like, and now there's two of you. I'm like, what are you trying to say? Like, what's happening?
Is that a
So
good thing or a bad thing?
yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because our son, he's starting to be very independent as well. So Seth's just like, I can't risk it. I can't risk it.
And I think I think the kids that are coming to Earth now, I think they have to be more resilient.
Yeah,
And because I feel like there's so much coming at kids, and they have to be able to say no to so many things and be more certain of who they are and have that fire in them that
yeah,
I feel like it's good that these little spirits that are coming down are fiery. I love it.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
This is the last question I ask everyone. My show's
Okay.
called Born to Be Brave. What's a time when you were, because I feel like every person was born to be brave. Share a time in your life that you were brave.
Oh man. Um, I mean, I think like the most recent one was making that move, right? And
Hmm.
just, it wasn't lost on me that I was picking up our whole family and my kids and taking them away from everything they've ever known, right? Like our parents are there, our friends are there, everything like that. But at the same time, and like it goes back to that like gut feeling. Like I said to Seth, I was like, this is what we have to do. Like this is if we want to do the things that we want to do and we want this life that we keep talking about, it's not going to happen staying in the same house in the same town doing the same things all the time, right? So yeah, I mean it took a lot of bravery, right? And just putting on that strong face for our kids and for everyone around us too. But yeah, I would say that of my adulthood that was probably one of the bravest moments.
To me, it seems like it's very brave just because for me, I've lived here for 57 years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And like literally, I'm like, gosh, I mean, I can literally drive around. I mean, I would never drive blindfolded, but like literally, I've
Yeah.
been here forever, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I think you're very brave. And I'm
Thank
just
you.
honored to call you a friend. And I'm so glad that we had this time together. Where can
Yes.
people find you if they wanted to reach out to you?
Probably the best place is Instagram. So it's Jennifer underscore champion underscore.
Okay. Thank you so much for being
Thank
here.
you. This
You're
is
just,
great.
yeah, you're awesome, lady. I want you to know I am cheering you on. Okay.
Thank you. Right back at you.
Thanks.